Konosuba is my favorite isekai so far. Sorry, Ray Zero. I'm just kidding. Calm down in the comments. Konosuba is definitely one of my top favorite isekais so far. Me loving this isekai is like loving peanut butter and jelly. I mean, I can't even imagine there's a person in the world that would say that they dislike peanut butter and jelly, because honestly, it's just so good. Because no matter what, you will always enjoy that peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And yeah, I'm comparing Konosuba to a peanut butter jelly sandwich. I just finished watching the movie, and I watched season 2 as well, and I watched season 1. Initially, my thoughts on season 1 were just that of immense laughter and so full of joy. That's just an understatement saying that, because there's so many good moments from season 1, such as when they take out the first general for the first time, and I initially thought that they were gonna lose because this guy was like, top ranking in the generals. I may be wrong about that, because you see more and more of the Demon King's generals just appear out of nowhere, especially the guy with the mask. I completely forget these freaking names. I am sorry, I'm very bad with names. I would say that Kazuma, the entire group, they are just so lovable and so comedic to the point that it's very infuriating. That in of itself is also an understatement, because they go to show that no matter if you are joking about something, everyone else is taking it seriously and they're telling you, hey, you should take it seriously. It goes to show that you should have somewhat of laughter in your life, and that's good promotion for just a healthy behavior in how you should conduct your life. You shouldn't get rid of that laughter and humor just because someone said you should take things seriously, because if you make a wrong move, you're gonna just regret it for the rest of your life. Kazuma, Megumin, Aqua, and Darkness go to show that, hey, you should be cognitive of what you're doing, but also have fun with it. And that's what I love about their characters. They work so well together, even though half the time they're arguing or whatever it may be, they still do the job and are adventurers. Starting off with the first season, I would say that my favorite part had to have easily been the destruction of the castle all the time. She was able to enhance her explosion power, and the explosion power is something that's always been around, and that's going into season 2 and even the movie, where essentially for her as a character, she develops so much to the point where she cries over her last explosion, as far as I'm aware, last explosion, and it looked absolutely magnificent. And that's going to say that I enjoyed the explosions a lot more and all of the comedic things about this series much more than the actual plot line of Aqua and Kazuma just going to this world just to defeat the Devil King. And it begs the question that if they do end up killing the Devil King, well, what will happen after that? But I am also really glad that with the series alone, besides the movie, you really do get a deeper dive into the characters, and that's going to say that, that whole explosion phase where they're exploding the castle over and over, that's more towards Megumin and her as a character, but you get a lot of that in the first season, and then you're like begging the question, well, what about the other two characters? Because you're introduced to Aqua as the first character that Kazuma meets, but essentially she is, I think, one of my favorite characters out of the series, and by favorite character, I mean Aqua. That's very surprising of me, because I usually don't go towards most of the whiny kind of anime girls, because they are just very annoying sometimes, and as Kazuma describes, completely useless. And I would say that she is very useful, because she is the reason he is still around to this day. If it wasn't for her, he would probably be living it up, rich in Japan as a reincarnated rich baby that was born into a rich family, and the only reason why he's still around is because of her. And that's not only the one reason that I like Aqua, because she's just a goddess and can resurrect and stuff like that. No, she kind of hits the nail on the coffin of the reasoning for her even being there in the first place. It's all due to Kazuma wanting her to come along just because she was being a pest when she first introduced herself. She makes a point that when he's actually contemplating about being born into a rich family, because she's stuck in that world, he kind of feels bad for her in a sense. That's where I say, humor really rises above all when it comes to it, because, Megumi was starting to undress Kazuma and did something to his body as he was unconscious, laying dead. And I love that part of the series immensely too. Going further into season 2, I liked how they divided both Darknesses and Aqua's story very well. You get to learn a lot more about Darkness's family and her life as a royalty, how her dad is trying to get her with this like noble guy, even though he sees that Kazuma is more of a fitting person to her than he would ever be. Moving further into season 2, where you have Aqua that goes back to her followers' home place of worship, and they absolutely hate her and think that she is just a gimmick. And that's where they fight I believe the third general, which is that slime dude, which was really cool. I absolutely love that scene too, especially because he's just hidden in plain sight, and he relates so much with Kazuma, with them trying to be very pushy with them trying to convert them into the religion of, I forget, but it's Aqua's religion basically. They get bothered by it, and that's sort of where they connect in relatability. But I honestly found that to be very funny, and there was a line that I was not expecting whatsoever from Darkness in that segment of season 2 where they're in that town that just blew me off the chains. If you know what this scene is, I shouldn't even have to mention it, but it just blew me off my chains, and I was not expecting to hear any sort of anime girl say this whatsoever, and it was just like so funny. And mind you, I watched the entire series dubbed. I would say that the movie in of itself, and this is my thoughts on the movie because, I just finished it. It definitely made Megumin's story a lot more expansive, and I didn't really necessarily have a problem with that. And I kind of felt bad for Aqua's screen time because she didn't get much screen time, and she was like, what about me, guys? She even says that in one of the scenes where everyone's running off without her when Kazuma creates this plan to stop the fourth general, I believe. It's that succubus looking lady, I forget her name. I tell you, I'm very bad with names, but when they come up with a plan, Aqua's like, what about me? What's going on, There are times when Aqua actually has good screen time, especially where she's blessing Kazuma to have a successful plan into place, and that he doesn't just completely die out when Megumin actually uses the explosion spell on her that's accumulated by the entirety of the magic of the entire town, which was pretty cool to see. And I absolutely love how Yun, which is a character that I can actually remember besides the main crew, cast the spell along with Megumin as well, which was really cool. I love that beautiful ending. It also begs the question of who Kazuma will ultimately pick in this series, because mind you, I haven't watched season 3. I think I plan on watching it once the dub is completely out, and that's not to say that I mind the sub. I absolutely love the sub. I've seen clips of the sub, but as someone that watches a series, I want to watch it first as that dub, and I wouldn't mind rewatching it sub. I would definitely love to hear Aqua's screaming in terror and it being more louder, and I know some people mind that, but hey, I don't. And I wouldn't say I've had a bad experience watching this series. I would say it's in my top 20, but after watching it for the first time, I would say that it is very classic, and I can understand why people would rate this as their top 10. And that's not to say that I would put that in my top 10, but I would understand why people would put it in their top 10 of all-time favorite anime. It's just good classic, is genuinely good at making you laugh, and it has unique characters to it. And that also begs the question of who Kazuma will pick out of the main cast of characters, because you have Aqua, you have Darkness, you have Megumin, and they sort of hint out towards Megumin sort of having a crush on Kazuma somewhat. Even up until this point, you never really see that much of her genuine affection for Kazuma. It's really cool to see how that blends in with Kazuma actually taking her seriously, especially at the end when she conjures that last explosion, and it almost brought a tear to my eye, but I wouldn't say I cried cried to that ending, but it was such a good and memorable series that I won't forget for a long time. I definitely love Konosuba as an anime. It has a lot of groundbreaking things that not many anime do, which is bringing a smile to your face when you are in the hardest point in your life. That is something that not many anime can do, so I definitely give credit to Konosuba for that. The fact that it is an isekai, you know, this guy resurrects every single time because of Aqua's powers, makes it twice as much isekai than any other anime, because it's just like, oh my gosh, can this guy just die already? In my mind, I'm like, you know what? I don't mind if he actually resurrects, because they're actually genuinely funny as characters. I wouldn't mind seeing them over and over again, because they just have this chemistry that just work like no other. Finally, I like to say that the dub is really good. I really had a fun time, and I would say that Aqua was my favorite dub actor in this entire series. She brings out so much emotion in her cries, or even just speaking or casting a spell, especially by her Heavenly Grace spell, which I believe is the thing that kills away the slime dude in season 2, which was really cool. And I can't wait to see what comes up in season 3. I know I've seen some little screenshots of season 3, but I want to try to stay away from that, even though I've been liking a lot of fan art. It also begs the question, what's the translation for Konosuba? Feel free to like, subscribe, comment down below your guys' thoughts and opinions. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care and peace.